Hello everyone, as we continue with our series of this AI project for this semester, as I as we discussed last time, I'm building a plagiarism checker, and what problem are we trying to solve is content duplication, which is a disease. This is one of the problem we are trying to solve. Uh, so how are we going to use AI to solve this? As I said earlier in our last presentation, is that we are going to use text mining to detect plagiarism using a database called Pinecone. And how are we going to build this database? We we are beginning. First of all, we need a dataset, and the dataset that I'm going to be using for this particular project is all the news, which you can find in Krago, and there's a link in my one of my references in one of the slides, which we shall discuss a little bit later. And I'm going to try to link this presentation in case of any addition, comments, or anything that will be helpful. So this is one of the dataset I'm going to use, which contains over 143,000 news articles, which is going to really help me to go through all these articles and see which can show which text has been plagiarized. Factors that I consider is performance, the dataset size and dimensionality, features of the database that I'll be using is that our simple UI, in which the user will paste the text from an article, let's say a specific article. So when the user clicks submit, this input will query the database of articles from our dataset, in which I've talked about earlier. So there are different kinds of theorems, classifiers that you can use when building models, and we have one, the Bayesian theorem. I think you've heard of this. One was done probability. So Bayesian, the Bayes theorem is a method to determine conditional probabilities. So then we have the naive Bayes. Naive Bayes is a classifier, is an algorithm that uses Bayesian theorem. So naive is part of Bayes theorem. And how we can use the naive is when we're building, let's say, a spam filter, which I think we shall need when we are filtering out also the content that has been plagiarized. Then we have the Bayesian networks. These are just probability graphical models. They consist of two parts, the structure and parameter. The structure is directed acyclic graph that expresses graphical independencies and dependencies among random variables suited with nodes. We shall go deep in this when we're building the models. One of the examples, we can have a probabilistic relationship between diseases and symptoms. So for example, when you're building Bayesian networks, so the difference between the Bayesian theorem and the naive Bayes, as you can see, the Bayesian is a theorem, the naive is a classifier. These will make more sense when you're building a model for a plagiarism checker. So these are some of the links to where I got my work from, and the link to my dataset. And I think what we are more interested in is this dataset of us that we are going to use more when we are building a project. And hope to see you soon with when I've incorporated this dataset into my plagiarism checker. Thank you, and see you soon.